attached to. The fenestration percentage of 65% is easily met by the applicant in this case. However, they had an issue with doing the wide windows because with the floor plan that they're given, there will be coolers or refrigeration equipment inside of that wall, and if you had those wide windows there, you'd be looking at the back of coolers when you walk past. And since we're trying to get away from the tinting and the blinds and all those other obstructions and windows, the applicant requested to do clerestory windows along the portion of the facade where there'd be coolers on the inside of the wall. So those windows are, you've seen them, I'm sure. They're probably about 2 to 3 feet wide, and they're usually up high. They usually start anywhere from 8 to 10 feet off the ground, that was the rationale that they used to make that request, was that we didn't want to look at the back of those windows, and that we didn't want any blinds or tinting or any other type of treatment to be done to windows, because we wanted to be able to maintain vision through the windows.
The idea of redesigning these windows for a refrigeration unit doesn't make any sense to me. You know, when you're talking about street appeal for these buildings, you don't rearrange the street appeal because of refrigeration. That's their interior layout. They can put those on a different wall and put something else on that exterior wall, in my opinion. So I don't think that's really a valid request either.
Variance number 3 is for the elimination of the requirement for loading zones to not face a public street. The loading zone is proposed to be on the back side of the building, closer to the Vaughn Street side. There's a loading door towards the rear of the building on the side, not in the back, because in the back you've got dumpster pads, and then behind that you've got proposed stormwater detention. The loading area is designed for standard 18-wheeler, 70-foot long truck, and it would be visible from Vaughn Street, but the question has become, is it facing Vaughn Street? This was a big topic of discussion with the Planning and Zoning Committee. And actually, now that I think of it, I probably should have gone through their recommendations when talking about each ordinance. I'll talk about this one and then I'll backtrack a little bit just so we cover that. Planning and Zoning for this particular variance, number 3, recommended that it be stricken because they didn't feel like it was needed. One particular member of the committee cited, and I'll pull this up for you here in 1 second. She cited section 1009 D3 and 4, where D3 of course says that loading area should not face any public street. Well, it's really not facing the street, it's visible from the street, was the argument. Then number 4, loading dock entrances for non-residential uses shall be screened so that loading docks and related activity are not visible from the public right-of-way. Key word there is docks. It's not a dock, it's just a loading zone. It's at grade level with the rest of the parking lot and the facility. So the recommendation from Planning and Zoning was to strike or remove that request as it is, in their view, not needed. Backtracking just a bit, can I just 1 second, sir? Backtracking just a bit. For variance number 1, the recommendation from Planning and Zoning was approval. Same for variance number 2, approval. Now back to variance 3. Any questions or comments regarding?
Any comments or questions from the council?
Well, I wanted to go back to loading dock issue as well. What happens with a lot of those loading entrances or loading areas is they use them for storage of items that they don't keep inside, or loading docks are a catch-all kind of area. You notice that on the Family Dollar, what's the Dollar General. Yeah, they've got some cardboard bins and stuff they keep outside the building over towards the trash dumpster and all that. That's basically what part of this ordinance is. Not so much that they're going to have a dock, but it's going to be a ingress, egress for material goods that they're going to be selling in this place. And I think that the idea was to eliminate the storage potential, and that's why we screen, because generally that's what happens, is they store things outside those doors.
I think originally when we were envisioning town center, we saw Bond Street as a potential for some really cute shops and have them facing this Bond. So you've almost got a potential for a U shape there of just nice stores. And this totally, I mean, you're looking at the back of a building, and what does that do to help us bring the full potential of the town center out for potential residents that want to move here? It's not attractive at all. And, how many dollar stores do we have within a 2-mile radius?
Yes.
Excuse me. So I'm saying it has not anything to do with the intent of what we wanted in town center.
So I just think we need to get through the presentation. It says staff presentation of the requests from the applicant, the decisions or recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Committee, and then it will be in the bosom of the City Council. And so I understand, you have every right to apply your opinion, but I think we're jumping the gun just a little bit. So let's get through the presentation, and then our work is done.
Okay.
All right.
All right, variance number 4 was for the parking reduction. Excuse me. And considering that this is, the downtown area, the town center, district, you want to have as much accommodation for pedestrians and be as pedestrian friendly as you possibly can be. As I mentioned before, the applicant is going to do the sidewalks, going to have the walkways from the sidewalks to the main entry point of the store on both street fronts. And it was staff's feeling that in this case, less parking is better than more. When it was discussed with the Planning and Zoning Committee, the first thing that they looked at was the stormwater facilities on the rear of the site. And the question was, well, can you put stormwater facilities underground? Citing other instances of where just that was done in other cases. The applicant maintains that they have a set budget for this project, and that may or may not fit into it. But it was something that through the discussion that they agreed they could work with as a halfway point, if you will. So for variance number 4, the recommendation from Planning and Zoning is approval with the condition that the stormwater detention facilities be constructed underground.
Any questions about that particular variance?
That number 4?
Yes. You're trying to keep it? All right, let's move forward. Seeing no questions. Got any questions from the public?
Yes. I completely support what Diane said. I don't think Family Dollar or Dollar King or any of those are going to fit into our vision of what we want for Clarkston, unless they could bend, they could change, they could do 2 entrances, they could pull it up to the sidewalk, make it pedestrian friendly. Decatur made CVS do it, and that's kind of a nice little pedestrian area now. It still looks like CVS, not my favorite, but it looks like the town, what the town wanted. If these people aren't willing to bend, the loading dock is absolutely right. Dollar General and Indian Creek is full of trash all the time. I'm constantly complaining to them that they don't pick up their parking lot. It blows against the fence and it stays there forever. They're not gonna be any better, so my
Debbie,
concern-
excuse me.
Yeah.
Talk to the people who are voting on the item.
Oh, I thought he was voting.
No, he's not voting.
Oh,
He's-
sorry, guys.
He's staff, these are the people you elected. So
Oh, okay. Well, you
to direct your comments to
Yeah.
the people who actually vote on the
Okay,
item.
well, you hear what I'm saying is that I'm very concerned about how this would fit into the city unless this was a company willing to bend, willing to look at their little project that they put all over DeKalb County and they change it so that it blends and it's pretty and it's pedestrian friendly and having a sidewalk that leads up to their door, I'm unimpressed with that, and they all have that. It's gonna look just like the one on Glenwood, just like the one on Gaylord, just like the one, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them on Memorial. Come on, let's do something different and make it pretty. I don't accept that their budget, the whole cooler thing, the reason they want the coolers there is that's what they've done in every other store. They can't visualize it looking differently or fitting into what we want to see, the kind of beauty we want to see. One of our biggest issues in Clarkston has been a lack of beauty. We want it to be so pretty. And this, having that right there, I'd rather have Signature Auto. At least he's a great mechanic. And at least it's a usable thing. I don't think another dollar store is a great idea at all. And I totally don't accept what they said about the windows. Because we know what those look like. There's 40 of them. We know what they look like. That cooler thing, that was just because that's how they've always designed it. They can't visualize another way. Even McDonald's changes. Like they change if you make them.
Diane's absolutely right. It would be a development catastrophe for the city, but it's really a moot point if the present ordinance allows him to do that. If he's within rights, then he can do that, and you prevent him, and he sees a means to force the city to adhere to the ordinance by threatening a lawsuit or something, then we're up to you-know-what without a paddle. It would be nice to know that all of this ordinance installed by Pond some years ago and having to do with the LCI study and all has in place a means to prevent a development catastrophe like this.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Mayor, we're cutting. We're cutting.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to respond. I thought somebody, you just said that we were responding to number 4, but I wanted to make it clear that, in support of Ms. Leonetti, I do not want Vaughn Street to be relegated to the backs of dollar stores. Also, this screams at the need for overlay districts in town center that will help prevent this duplication of junk or dollar stores.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Gaines. We're going to move forward to item D9, which is the application has been withdrawn without prejudice. And so we'll move to item D10, proposed public hearing. This is change for the ordinance for amendments for keeping and raising of farm animals.
Yes, sir. At your request, staff initially drafted 2 proposed changes to the ordinance that addresses the keeping of domesticated poultry. 2 distinct versions of the proposed ordinance were drafted based on the direction you all provided us. First reading of both versions was conducted at your June meeting. At the July meeting, the city attorney advised that the adoption of any changes to the ordinance in question are subject to the state zoning procedures law in OCGA section 3666(1). The statute requires matters pertaining to zoning and land use to be advertised in the legal organ no later than 45 days and no sooner than 15 days prior to the date of the scheduled public hearing. The provisions of this statute have been met, and the matter has again been brought forward for consideration. We went to planning and zoning last week with this, so they could provide their insight and comment. I read the ordinance for them there. Well, let's back up just one bit. Since we last heard this, the city attorney drafted a single version of the ordinance based on, I guess, new direction that was provided by you all. And we took that single version to the planning and zoning committee last week. They discussed it and they recommended adoption of the ordinance with 3 proposed changes or additions. The first is to include or add an application process for citizens wishing to keep poultry at their residence.